I've never been afraid to be mildly pretentious about what we do, and we do work really hard to make sure that it's got something more. It's not, you know, I hope I hope our fans like it, and if anybody else does, it's a bonus. It's not that. And it's all those kind of horrible cliches, but it is kind of delicately hammered together by the two of us. Not necessarily painstakingly, but it, you know, we work very hard on every element of what we do, from every single guitar sound to every single word of the lyrics to every single flick of the melody and all the production and all the kind of, you know, sound world that goes along with it. Everything is carefully considered. And in a good way, not in a sort of sitting around worrying way, but, you know, it is that thing you can take. It's just like with conceptual art. You can take just the right things and place them in just the right way, and it shifts your perspective, and it's not just a few scattered objects anymore. It's actually something meaningful. We met through the power of ale and Doctor Who. I met my friend Davey from going to this kind of monthly, very informal pub meet that's been happening in Fitzrovia for like 25 years, where the Doctor Who fans just kind of rock up once a month and have a few beers together, and it's, you know, no one comes dressed as Tom Baker, and it's all kind of quite fun, really. And me and Davey both being freelance sound people, what would always happen is that it would get to 11 o'clock and it would be kicking out time, and it would just be like, well, should we go for one more? Yeah, all right, we'll go for one more. And over the months, we kind of got very good at finding the places that served really late in central London on a Thursday night, and, you know, it would be 3, 4 in the morning, and we would still be sitting in somewhere, several sheets to the wind by this point, talking away, mostly about music, really, because that was what we really bonded about. And I had been talking about things that I wanted to do career-wise, and I had mentioned Andrew Montgomery, and I had mentioned Richard, both of whom Davey was a big fan of. And I was saying, I should really do some work with him. Davey was like, yeah, definitely, you should really get together with Richard. You know, where is he? I'm sure you've got some great work and you should do something with him. And
2007.
2007 this would have been. And I thought, yeah, that's a really smart idea, but how am I going to get in touch with him? And Davey said, well, I know his brother Stephen, because Stephen's also a Doctor Who fan. So it was kind of, you know, through the sort of Doctor Who telegraph, basically.
The first I knew, the first thing that happened was that I got an email from my brother Stephen saying a friend of mine has been asking for Charlie, your manager's details for a friend of his. Would you mind me passing them on? And this was probably about summer 2007. And I said, yeah, fine. And by that point I was kind of I had been working on my own, getting a kind of show reel of music I've been writing together. I've been sort of putting a home studio together for quite a long time, taking ages over it. So
there was a kind of process of me going to meet Charlie and having a listen to the sort of sketch ideas that Richard had put together and sort of discussing the sort of things we might do. And it was so embryonic that it was never more at the beginning than an idea of let's try and get in the room together and try and write some songs. So there was no idea at that time that it might turn into a bigger project than that. It was just let's try doing some writing. So there was a bit of to and fro for a while we tried to get our diaries to sync up, and then it took a few months. It took about 5 or 6 months.
Yeah, I was slowed down by personal circumstances, but when everything finally sorted itself out for me, this was probably by about July 2008. So it was it must have been, you know, getting on for a year later. But I hadn't been ready to start a project at the time in 2007. It just wasn't right for me personally. So, but by the time July came around, it was like I was on the phone to Charlie saying, you know, I need to find somebody to write songs with. It's not healthy for me to work on my own anymore. Is this guy Sean still interested? Because I'd been making him wait around, you know. And quick exchange of emails, and found out that he was still interested. So we arranged a meeting and said, okay, you know, let's make a go of it. I've heard some of the things that he'd been working on as well. Kate Havnovic and stuff like that. He'd been doing in Tempo Shark, and it all sounded good to me. And, you know, I could tell that he knew his way around technology in a way that I just didn't. I've never been technically minded. You know, with me it's just about putting music together. But Sean was kind of the fastest in the business when it comes to Logic. It's kind of smoke coming off the keyboard, you know. So that was, you know, impressive. And then we decided, was it August or September, to just have a preliminary day, get together. And I brought some new demos over that day, I think. We wrote 2 songs on that first day. One was Forever in Negative, which I think is one of our best, and the finished version sounds brilliant. And the second one was A Homecoming, which we recorded last week with the full band, last weekend.
Yeah, we've just been doing overdubs on that today. So.
With the band that we've been playing with live, with Ben Ellis on bass, Gordana Jovkovic on keyboards, and Matisse Richet on drums. They're the people we play with live, and we wanted to capture the essence of a band in a room, which hardly anyone ever does anymore.
At that point, I then started making the second Tempo Shark record, which I'd co-written it with Rob Diamond from Tempo Shark, and I was producing it for them. So there was a period then of me occasionally being able to fit in a session with Richard on the odd sort of down day that I would have, even if it was a weekend day. So there was just kind of fitting in and gradually sort of, building up ideas. And at this stage, they were embryonic. They would be kind of a sort of backing track idea with full music that Richard would bring, and I would write a melody idea to them, and they wouldn't necessarily get their lyrics straight away, and there'd be a lot of la-la-la-ing and kind of fake words. But it was obvious it was kind of going somewhere. And in the back of my mind, what I was thinking was that we were going to keep writing these songs because it was going well, and then there would be a certain point in the process when Charlie would probably come in and say, okay, we take you away from the microphone, and we get this kind of hot young 20-year-old, and we put them in front of the microphone, and then it becomes this new band. And
that was only an embryonic idea, and I was right from the start was thinking, I don't really want to form a new band. I want to have a project, just us writing some songs, not for an album or for somebody else, or just to write some songs. And we had a collection of sort of probably about 20 or so, and we knew that we had an album. And then come January 2010, we started recording properly, in earnest.
All the songs that Richard was getting out of me in the course of the writing, once the lyrics started coming out, were all really personal, in a way that a lot of the stuff where I've written with other people, you feed in your emotional life and background and your feelings into them in a way. You can't write any kind of song completely cold. If you listen to the cheesiest possible pop music, I truly believe the people behind it are in the studio and they're giving it their all, and you can smell kind of cynicism a mile away. So even like the kind of worst sort of Eurotrash kind of pop thing you might think is dreadful, you kind of know the people behind it were sitting in the room going, oh no, this is brilliant, I really believe in it. And so when the opportunity came for me to be the singer, I grabbed at it because frankly I'd been wanting to do it for a very long time, and I think that I'd had so many other diversions in the way that my career had gone that it was just not possible at any other point really for me to step up to the mic and actually be the singer, because I'd been working towards my goals of being a writer, being a producer for a long time, and when you're entrenched in that world, it's kind of difficult to sort of make time to say, well, let's try and do this other thing. So I knew that I'd have to make a big investment of time in this, and it would shift the way that I did things, but I knew that if we got it right, it would be incredibly rewarding. And because the songs were also personal, it kind of made sense for me to sing them as well. And I did have a couple of wobbles. I sort of had meetings with people about other things who would sort of guffaw slightly when I'd say, oh, I've got this new artist project and what have you, and they'd say, why do you want to do that when, you can sit in a room and, write songs for insert name of, probably already forgotten pop star here, and make loads more money for much less work and all this sort of thing. And I had two thoughts about that, which were, oh my god, maybe they're right, and oh my god, they're completely wrong. But I kind of needed to be pushed a little. So I remember actually sitting down with Richard at the beginning, I think, either late 2009 or early 2010, and saying, look, people have been saying all these things to me, and you said you would have felt strange doing it if it hadn't been me. I
think, yeah, it was the same thing with me, really, that a lot of the lyrics and the subject matter were incredibly personal to Sean, and when you write a song like The Gift of Flight, it's got to be him that sings it, I'm not saying that nobody else could sing that song, I'm saying I can't picture it, I can't imagine it. And that's an important factor, that just made me think it wouldn't feel right to stand on stage next to anybody else. It's got to be the guy who wrote it, And I think that came from the sort of personal aspect of the songs and the fact that a lot of them are quite sort of troubled. Definitely Sean reacting to the kind of music I was giving him, because I built up quite a lot of the music was written during a very unhappy period of my life, where things weren't easy for me at all. And so I think that was when it was like an exorcism to give all this stuff to Sean and say, let's write some songs, and a lot of it was quite miserable, something like Half-Life. You're not going to write Love Is Nice over the top of that, Your sense of certainty has been erased. Indecision takes its place. Is this the future that you thought you'd make? Love transfigured into hate. I don't want to stay. See my and Submerged as well. It's like there were dark things coming out of both of us, I think. But that's what you need to do. That's what songwriting's all about, self-expression, and you've got to get these things out. Very much a kind of in the room as it happened sort of process, really, where I'd sit, Sean would be where you are, up by the computer with a microphone, just basically riffing over ideas, and that's a horrible word, isn't it, riffing? It's
kind of true, though, because you're just sort of trying to open up and spill whatever's in your mind and respond to what's in front of you musically without overthinking it too much.
And me sitting at the back, kind of like almost like watching the song being written and going, that sounds really good. Pointing out the bits that I liked and suggesting harmonies and stuff like that. And I'd not really written like that before. With me, it had been, especially if I write with a vocalist, it had always, it had only been Brett in the past. He'd do his thing on his own, and I wouldn't be involved in the way that the lyrics and melody were formed. And Sean was inviting me to be involved in that process, and that was something new for me. And all the songs are written like that. There's not a single one, apart from maybe The Choice, which is Parkgate Road, it was called, and that was the one that Sean had written, I think, probably about 10 minutes before I came round. So
it was right at the same day as I Keep On Walking.
Yeah, so what do you think of this? And I was just like, yes,
She held your camera, you held my gaze. She caught me staring at your well-made frame.
Well, the lyrics kind of change over time, don't they, really?
Yeah, completely. I mean, some of them you get a lucky hit and you get the title or something in the kind of, as this kind of mass subconscious spillage is going on.
Yeah.
You might get something drop out of your mouth where you think that's a great title. The Scruff of the Neck was like that. I knew what the subject matter was going to be, but I hadn't thought about anything, and I was just la-la-lying along, and then suddenly those words popped out and fitted into a musical phrase just nicely, and so straight I was like, that's brilliant, that's the title.
But love doesn't check. It only connects. Selecting its prey, then it pulls them away by the scruff of the neck.
The Choice didn't become The Choice for quite a while, and I wrestled with the lyrics for that for a long time, because initially it was going to be something much more kind of depressing and fatalistic, and I actually thought, no, I know it's an unsettlingly emotional kind of seesaw of a song, but I wanted to come down on the side of actually it being quite positive, because it's about making a big choice in your life and not being sure whether it's the right thing to do. And actually it and Half-Life are basically twins, because Half-Life is about taking that choice and thinking it's all gone wrong and not being able to make sense of it, and The Choice is about taking that choice with confidence and believing it's all going to work out. So the two kind of interlink in a way that's actually kind of quite satisfying.
The classic mood swing if you're in this job. Why am I doing this? And yes, this rocks.
Yeah.
It's
welcome to my life.
The needle
basically.
Is kind of always wobbling between those two.
You talk in circles.